Hello, right, continuing through the big names of electricity and magnetism. Here's a little bit of background to Andre-Marie Ampere, who, of course, has got the unit of current, electric current, named after him. So, Ampere was a French physicist and mathematician, one of the founders of classical electromagnetism. So, he was born in Lyon, so we're looking sort of just below middle of France, to a wealthy business family. And this is at the height of the French Enlightenment. So there's a lot more interest in science, moving away from what was seen by a lot of the people as being the superstition of religion and such like. But his mother was devoutly Catholic, so he was sort of seeing both sides of all of this. He had this home library that he was educating himself within in a wide range of subjects, and you had this sort of new atmosphere and enthusiasm for science in the country, but there was also that devout Catholic input from his mother. He had a pretty tragic life, really. There was a lot of turbulence in what is, you can see from the date range there, but not a particularly long life. I mean, he made it to what's that, just over 60. His father was guillotined during the revolution towards the end of the 18th century. So that was the first tragedy that he had. I mean, things settled down a bit after that. Once Napoleon was in charge, Ampere was made a professor of physics and chemistry in eastern France, just outside of Lyon. But then his wife died at a really young age. This was in 1803. He then moved off to Paris. So he'd already had these two major tragedies, and he was only in his 20s by that point, his late 20s. In 1820, he then became aware of Ørsted's discovery of the deflection of a magnetic needle by a current carrying wire, something that is the foundation for ammeters, voltmeters, and something that you've probably studied in the lab at school or college. And he investigated this more, and he was showing then that if you've got two current carrying wires, they're either going to attract or repel depending on the direction of the current in each wire. And the force between these wires is then proportional to the length and the magnitude of the currents. So this is essentially the foundation for what we now refer to as Ampere's law. He then tried to explain what was going on here. And it was this move into the theoretical underpinnings of electromagnetism that subsequently caused James Clerk Maxwell, to describe him as being the Newton of electricity. He was making this big change, this big sort of paradigm shift in the understanding of what was going on, because he was theorizing the existence of what Ampere referred to as an electrodynamic molecule. So electrodynamic, as in we're talking about electric current here rather than static electricity. We've got dynamic electricity, so the movement of electric charge. So an electrodynamic molecule was being something which, he was calling a molecule. They didn't understand the structure of matter in the way that we do now. So he was thinking more from a sort of chemistry point of view. But a molecule that was charged, that was then in motion down these wires. So you can see that this is sort of a forerunner to the electron. And he was saying this is the foundation of electricity and magnetism, the movement of this charged particle. So, he's hitting a lot of nails on a lot of heads there by coming up with that. Okay, he didn't know about the electron, but how could he? I mean, he's theorized more or less at a high level the same thing. Off of the back of this, he then created a fairly comprehensive predictive and descriptive account of electromagnetic phenomena. So this is really the first serious work of electrodynamics. So you can see how that fits with that description of him being the Newton of electricity. Of course, as we know, we got the unit of electric current is named after him. This has a certain sort of, I suppose, national, from a European point of view, a national equality around a lot of this in terms of the unit names. I mean, I know we got a couple of them from France. We've got amps and coulombs named after French scientists. But yeah, we got Volt for Alessandro Volta, so that's Italian. You've got Georg Ohm for resistance with ohms, who's German. James Watt for watts for power, he was Scottish. And then, of course, Faraday with farads, and he was English. So it's spread around a reasonable amount across the major European countries. And he is, as you expect and have probably noticed if you've watched my other biographical videos, Ampere is another one of the names inscribed on the Eiffel Tower. You know, they pick their big name scientists in particular are commemorated on there. So yeah, there we go. Andre Marie Ampere, another titan of science, despite the sort of repeated tragedies and turmoil throughout his life. There you go.